Legal disclaimer. The information provided during this seminar is for educational and informational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. The presenters are not licensed medical professionals unless explicitly stated otherwise. All discussions, suggestions, and recommendations are based on personal experiences, research, and knowledge of natural remedies. Participants are advised to consult with a qualified healthcare provider or medical professional before making any changes to their diet, lifestyle, or healthcare regimen, including the use of natural remedies discussed during the seminar. Individual results may vary, and the information provided may not be suitable for every individual. By attending this seminar, participants acknowledge and agree that 1. The presenters and organizers shall not be held responsible or liable for any outcomes, direct or indirect, resulting from the use or misuse of the information presented. 2. Attendance and participation in this seminar do not establish a doctor-patient or professional-client relationship between participants and the presenters. 3. The use of the information provided is at the participant's own discretion and risk. This seminar is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. All information is shared in good faith, and participants are encouraged to exercise personal judgment and seek professional advice as needed. But, we pray that you will seek be the great physician, and not the witch doctors of Babylon, that cut, burn, and poison the body temple. Revelation 18 verse 23.
I would go to the medicine cabinet and get out the pills and think to myself, if a headache is simply a lack of Excedrin, why don't I have a headache?
The average American is only drinking this amount of water. The average person in China who only drinks 4% of what they need, so about 3/4 of the way. That's how much water the average person in China is drinking.
In taking those 3 needle biopsies of my thyroid, they ascertained that I had cancer, but they couldn't tell.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we want to praise you so much for your blessings of today. We want to praise you for your leading. We want to praise you for the word and for the simple remedies that you have given to us as a people, the herb of the field and the foods that are medicinal as well. And that you've even, through time, have given us instruction on what to do with these things so that we can be well. We thank you for this, and we praise you. We pray that you will be our guide today as we go through these things. Bless and lead us in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, so we're going to talk about Yarrow. And anytime I think of Yarrow, I always think of here today, can't even talk. Here today, gone to Yarrow. Or we might say here today, gone tomorrow. Literally what that means is if we use the plant Yarrow, which I'm just put there on the screen for you to see. We'll look at a little more detail of that. But grows wild. It's all over. We've seen it all over the country. Not quite as prevalent here in Tennessee where we are. Get a little ways from here and it seems like it's more popular. But Yarrow is an absolutely amazing herb. And there are just so many things that we can do with Yarrow to for our health. I wished I could say that it tasted really, really good and that it was like drinking a cup of peppermint tea, but it's not that good. It's not too bad. I have to say this is one that kind of has grown on me over time, but it's definitely not the most pleasurable drink. But at the same time, the medicinal things are amazing, and it literally is too. There's this saying about Yarrow, here today, gone to Yarrow, is because if you're coming down sick, you feel like you're getting the flu or a cold or something, Yarrow tea, and it's gone. It's gone tomorrow. It's amazing how quickly and how well it works. And we're going to look at some of the things that it does. Yarrow cleanses the blood, it strengthens the blood, it cleanses the liver, it kills harmful microorganisms. It is probably the number one herb for use in a toxic environment. And today we live in a toxic environment.
Yes.
Everything around us is toxic. Everything is completely just. It's hard to find food that we can eat that's not been contaminated. It's hard to find good herbs. It's hard to find fresh air, uncontaminated everything. Our bodies are being bombarded by so many things, and for many years, I'm talking many, many years, the last 20 plus years, I have been saying that and I would tell people, don't use herbs all the time. Don't use them every day. Save them for when you need them, because if you're using them every day, if you're using them all the time, your body's going to build up an immunity to it. And then when you really need it, your body's so used to it being there that it's not going to have that powerful, shocking effect that really gives it that punch.
Is that a pharmaceutical thinking or what?
Pretty much.
I thought so.
Pretty much, but at the same time, I finally have realized, and maybe I was wrong with that thinking at that point. I'm not afraid to say I was wrong. But what I am realizing is that we're living in a time right now where we have to be using these things daily if we're going to have good health. We're to that point, whether we were or not years ago, we're definitely there now, where if we are not using the herbs that God has given us on a daily basis, we're not going to be able to obtain good health and keep good health. And there's another saying, it's called an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So we could talk with you about how to cure this problem or that problem or fix this issue or that issue. But it would be, and we do that, we try to help with that, because not all of us have known these things for years. Many of us have put our bodies through a huge amount of abuse. And because of that abuse that we've put our bodies through, by eating things that were not good for us, by drinking things that were not good for us, by not getting proper exercise, by not getting proper rest, by not following the Lord's instruction manual for this machine that we have, that we live in. You know, if you don't move and flex the muscles, it atrophies, or meaning that it stops working. Yes. Our bodies were designed to move. And I get it, as we are getting older, some of those things become a bigger challenge for us. But you know what? We can still move that arm. Maybe it's not as much, maybe it's not as fast as it used to be. When I had received my neck injury, I realized in a quick hurry that what I did yesterday, I can't do at all today. And it limited me a lot. It gave me a real perspective of how those things change. So we want to look at some more of this with Yarrow. And I think we should go through, I was debating whether to take, it's not that long. I'm going to take the time to read this. This is out of our 10 Essential Herb book that we've been going through. And, which by the way, this is number 10. This is the 10th herb on the list. So next week we'll be moving on to some other things, but this is the number 10 on the 10 essentials. And he has these tassel here, which is basically a real life experience. And I want to share this with you. This is specifically for the ladies, but there's a lot of things. This herb is not just a lady's herb. This herb is for us guys as well. But this one helps, and this is something that, being that we've been in this ministry with working and helping people for a long time, we realize that almost every lady out there at one time or another has had this problem or is having this problem. So here's some answers. And for those of you that, ladies, that are, you'll see in a moment here, that are beyond having to deal with this, you've got family members you could, or friends you could share it with. So here we go. My friend Cynthia once told me about her regular bouts with the death and dying disease. In general, Cindy had excellent vitality, energy, and apparent health. Yet, every month, when her menstrual cycle was beginning, she would suddenly get extremely nauseous, faint feeling, have trouble walking, and suffer diarrhea, painful cramps, and heavy bleeding. Bodily shaking, together with everything else, would commonly leave her collapsed on the floor. Cindy was always certain that she was about to die, and no matter what help she sought, the problem stubbornly continued. Occasionally a month would go by without this happening, and she would think that perhaps it was gone for good, but the next month it would surprise her again, and I do mean surprise. It could happen at any moment's notice. Cindy learned from me that Yarrow greatly strengthens and cleanses the blood and acts as a powerful tonic for female organs, actually balancing the menstrual cycle. So she joined me one day to gather some. Taking some Yarrow home with her, she began my favorite regime of having 1 cup of Yarrow tea each day. And there's another reason for me sharing this, and that's because of also what it does, and we'll get to this here for us guys. Several weeks later, she reported to me that there had been a dramatic and pleasing change in her monthly cycle. She had not had the drastic menstrual experience that month and was experiencing many of the tonic strengthening actions of Yarrow, including greater vitality, better digestion, healthy skin, and stronger immunity to the common colds and flu. She reported that the only thing she had done differently that month was to have 1 cup of Yarrow tea each day. She admitted that she had started using Yarrow mainly out of curiosity and had not really hoped for a change in her menstrual difficulties. The enhancement of her general well-being was very welcome. However, and she intended to continue using Yarrow as a general tonic on the basis of all the benefits she had experienced so far. The next month also passed with no menstrual upheaval, and we began to hope that there might be a real change in this long-standing problem. During the third month, there were mild signs of the old trouble, yet she found that drinking an additional cup or two of Yarrow tea and taking doses of calcium lactate, which I would not do or recommend, and drinking some electrolyting balancing juice, which we could do without that too, because we know something else for the ladies, and that is, and it even tastes good, and that's strawberry leaf tea. So instead of enjoying the red strawberries, make a tea out of the leaves, ladies. When it comes that time of month, you don't have to do it every day, but when it comes that time,
High in calcium.
it's high in the minerals and the nutrients that your body needs with all of that it's going through at that point. And I don't think you would need this calcium or the electrolyte balancing because of it, all the nutrients the strawberry leaf tea has. So there's something that you can do for that. In fact, we've seen a lot of ladies' problems resolved entirely as far as the cramping and the pain and whatnot that goes with it. The PMS that goes with it, that goes away a lot of times by doing nothing more than drinking strawberry leaf tea. And it tastes like strawberries, so I like it.
Kind of.
I like it too. It's good.
They say that the wild strawberries, like if you walk around in America in the woods,
Find
or
it in the
field,
woods or in the fields or
the
in
wild
a lot of
ones-
yards.
Yes, the wild ones are a lot better than the cultivated. leaves.
Domestic ones, yeah. So anyway, so this helped her with her death and dying syndrome. Anyway, Yarrow has become her herb, although she may occasionally skip her cup of tea. If she ever feels discomfort around the time of her menstrual cycle, she brews up her Yarrow tea and takes extra calcium and some electrolyte juice, or I would say the strawberry leaf tea. These simple measures worked, I believe, because Cindy had toned and strengthened the functioning of her internal organs and her blood chemistry with the Yarrow, exactly what the bitter tonic is supposed to do. And Yarrow is a bit on the bitter side. That's why it works so well with the liver and supporting the liver and strengthening the liver and cleansing the liver, the blood filter. So for all you guys that understand oil filters in the car, and well, even the ladies that understand that, if we were to never ever change the oil filter in our vehicles, if we said, oh, it isn't necessary, we don't need that, our car would
really bad gas mileage, and you're gonna
fuel economy is going to quit, the engine life's going to be shortened.
Yes.
But if we keep that filter changed or cleaned, a clean filter, and yes, some of the like big heavy equipment, when I used to service that, we didn't change the filter, we washed the filter. We took it out, we washed it with solvent, and we poured oil through it to get the solvent out and the oil back in it. We put the same filter back in. It was replaceable. So we cleansed out the filter, and that's what one of the wonderful things that Yarrow does is help clean that filter. So that as the garbage that's been caught up in the blood, that's going through the body, from all the toxins that we encounter, even if we've had a good diet and we take care of ourselves, we're still being exposed to all of these outside influences that are just a trouble. The list of some of the things that Yarrow can do for us, and I'm going to go ahead and put the Yarrow back up there on the screen. In fact, I think what I'll do, there we go, there's the flower close up for you. looking at it. And, well, we'll show you the leaves here in a little bit, what they look like. So, yarrow helps with allergies. It's an antiseptic. It helps with arthritis. It's an astringent. You can take a bath in it, make a tea, put the tea in the bath, and take a bath in it. It helps with bleeding, to stop bleeding. It's a blood purifier because it helps the liver. It helps with bursitis. That's because it's helping with the liver as well. It helps with childhood diseases, with chills. It helps circulation. We use it, as Melanie's, that's right, we weren't recording at that time, as she mentioned, with the, in conjunction with the cold wet sheet wrap, we use the yarrow because it helps a person to sweat. It's good for colds and flus, for colic, and little ones, obviously small doses. Congestion, digestion, for the eyes, for fasting, for female organs. It will actually help create a fever, and a fever is a friend as long as it's a wet fever. It helps the gallbladder. It helps with gas removal. It helps with hemorrhoids, with hepatitis, hypoglycemia. We're going to talk a little more about that one. Immune system, infection, inflammation, insect bites. I got to pause right here and talk about insect bites. So what we do, when we were especially out west, we lived in an area where we had a lot of mosquitoes. And even though it was a dry area, we had a lot of mosquitoes. So what we would do is we would take, this is the leaves on the yarrow plant. And so we would take these leaves and literally we would just take them and we would rub it on the skin. Just break some of them off, rub it on the skin. It will kind of make you look a little green, but you won't feel green. It'll just make you look.
Stinky.
Yeah, it smells just like the yarrow.
And it kept the bugs off.
But it is the best natural insect repellent that you could ever dream for. It works. We rub it on our back of our necks, on our foreheads, on our cheeks, because we used to go out and spend all day Sabbath sitting out in the woods reading the Word and studying and singing and praying, and we'd have our lunch out there, and the mosquitoes would just be thick oftentimes, depending on the time of year. And so
And it was obnoxious because we had tiny ones you couldn't see, but they sure could bite you.
oh yeah,
And you had the big ones, nigh on big enough to pack you
pack
off.
Yeah.
So
And
we're
so-
fighting off the little ones we couldn't see.
So we used the leaves, and we just literally didn't make a tea, didn't do anything, but just grab them, bruise the leaves, and usually bruised it just by our rubbing it on, just backs of the hands, like I said, the face. And if everybody's doing it and you're all looking a little green in the gills, it's no big deal. Because
And then when you sit down in an area together to study, we smelled so much like yarrow, the bugs just
stayed
away.
back. There was
It
no
nice.
issue.
It was
So it works well. It also helps after the fact, yarrow, with itching. I've not specifically tried it with the like poison ivy. I should do that. Remember that one. So anyway, it's a good liver supporter. It helps the lungs. It helps the lymph system. It helps with menstruation, nausea, night sweats. So think about this. Here again, another herb. We've talked about several herbs where, like cayenne, it'll promote blood circulation and yet it'll stop bleeding. It's like opposites. How does that work? Well, here we have yarrow helping to stop night sweats, and yet we just got through reading over here in the previous one that it helps with to create a fever. So it'll create a fever, yet it'll stop night sweats. Kind of opposites there, but God's programmed it. It knows what to do. Perspiration therapy. It helps increase perspiration, yet it stops night sweats. Reproductive organs, sinuses, skin, muscle spasms. It's a stimulant. It helps the stomach. It helps with teething in little ones. It's a tonic. Helps with tonsillitis, urinary tract strengthener, varicose veins. It helps with. She's got in here a wake-up tea, and yet it's definitely not a caffeinated drink. Helps wounds. And of course, there's a Yarrow bath. You can make a gallon of tea, and put it in the bath. And it helps with yeast infection. So there's a long list of things that you can do with Yarrow as far as the strengthening of it all goes.
It helps stimulate the flow of bile, and it also helps the liver detoxify so that it can produce the bile needed for the flow of bile. So it's when there's a lack of appetite, it's good for healing the stomach and taking away stomach cramps. Good for flatulence. Gallbladder, liver trouble, internal hemorrhaging. Takes away internal hemorrhaging just like cayenne does.
Cayenne does.
So that would be very helpful. Fresh yarrow juice acts as a general tonic. Oh, I wish we had it around here like we had it out west. We could juice it.
Yeah.
But we're making tea of it here because we use it in the bath to produce sweating. It's for nosebleed, coughing, or spitting up blood, rectal or hemorrhoidal bleeding. And the other book I read earlier said that if you put it in the bath with mullein, it will help heal hemorrhoids. So I'm going to try that with the next time I have someone who has difficulty that way. Yeah.
Okay, I want
Caught up here.
to go to one of these, another one. This is still out of this 10 Essential book. And it says, another use of yarrow that has been especially helpful to me is an aid in waking up alert and ready to go in the morning. And
so that means it helps, excuse me for interrupting you, but that means it's helping the pancreas. Because when you're slow waking up, it means you're hypoglycemic.
That's correct. And that's exactly what she's going to tell us here.
Okay, go ahead and read.
You're right on with it.
I'll quit. You're
right on.
Okay.
So this morning lethargy is typical symptom of hypoglycemia. So if you struggle to wake up in the morning and to get out of bed, unless it was just flat, you didn't go to bed at a reasonable hour, it's an early symptom of hypoglycemia. So a help for this, to get the body to work right, is to, it is a cup.
Evening?
Yep. I began to drink, I was just kind of reading forward here, so I skipped through. I began to drink a cup of yarrow tea at night, the last thing before going to bed. The yarrow strengthened my body's ability to maintain a balanced blood sugar level throughout the night. And I would wake up alert and clear-headed in the morning.
Praise God.
Yarrow strengthens and encourages the natural action of important internal organs, including the liver and pancreas, which in turn leads to more optimal functioning, alertness, and available energy in a body that is otherwise in generally good health. So if you're in relatively good health and you just want more energy, I mean, it seems to me I'm always looking to be able to get more energy and to have more strength. And so to me, it's like, yeah, I think this would be a really, really good thing that we could do.
By the way, when Mark and I first got married, we weren't living for the Lord, and he had a terrible habit of eating a lot of sugar. He had a very sweet tooth, and so
Right before bed, usually.
Yeah, right before bed. He usually had lots of sweets. So
Somebody's unmuted.
someone's unmuted. See if I can find him here. Okay. So it would have been very beneficial to have known about Yarrow, because in the morning, well, he would tell me, I may get up before noon, but don't tell me anything important before noon. And it was true. He was so sluggish up until noon, but it was the high sugar content that he was ingesting
Taking out my
that was causing him to be sluggish. So here's Yarrow that's been dried. We can do that.
Projector will up.
We went and did a job out west 2 years ago, and we found fields of yarrow in Idaho where we were, and I went and picked it, and I brought home the stems and all. Here's a long stem, and you might not think there's much medicinal in that stem.
There's a lot in the stem.
But
there's more nutrients in the leaves and
you.
the flowers, but the stems, we just use it all as
we use it all
and make a tea out of it, and it's amazingly powerful.
It's enough to get the desired effect.
And there's literally, this is probably, when this was full, it was equivalent to about a 25 or 30 gallon garbage sack full of yarrow before we dried it.
Oh no, I have 4 of these.
You've got 4 of these
four
yet?
Of these in there.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So
we got 4 gallons out of all that we sent home ahead of us.
Yeah.
Because we didn't have room.
We were flying and we couldn't take it with us, so we had to ship it in boxes home. Yeah. So some more information about yarrow. This is from the Health Handbook. It's good for circulation, beneficial to all parts of the body, stops bleeding internally and externally, good for childhood diseases and skin eruptions, excellent preventative herb. And with today and all of the toxic environment that our bodies are facing every day, we need this preventative herb. Everyone.
That's why Mark started out by saying he used to tell people, "Oh, don't use herbs until you're getting sick. You might build up a resistance to it." No. This is a preventative. So a preventative means take a cup of tea when you think you're just fine and you won't get sick. And we've found that to be true.
Does that mean it's an adaptogen? It's an adaptogen
It cleanses the blood, and if you can keep your blood purified, you're not going to get humors and tumors and cysts and you name it. All of those are literally just places where the body finds a weak spot and starts dumping the garbage.
Yeah,
that is collecting out of
it's a garbage can.
Yeah.
It's
so it wouldn't be an adaptogen; it's a cleanser, so it keeps the
correct.
It keeps the junk out away.
Right. Correct.
So you don't get compromised. So your system is strong. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's given the body the things, the nutrients that it needs to be able to do those things. So it's high in potassium and phosphorus with moderate amounts of, here we go again, everybody's concerned about B vitamins. It's moderate amounts of B complex, especially chlorine and choline and
inositol.
Yeah.
Inositol.
Anyway, whatever. I don't go with a lot of their fancy names. Magnesium, manganese, selenium, and silicon. Small amounts of vitamin A, C, E, F.
Fatty acids.
And P, bioflavonoids.
Bioflavonoids,
sorry. Trace amounts of vitamin K, iron, sodium, and zinc. So if you've been drinking a cup of yarrow tea every evening before you go to bed,
you're not going to get the common cold or a flu because you're high in zinc.
Because you're high in zinc.
Yeah. And C.
Because it's built up because you're daily adding a little more as you go through. some more things with Yarrow. Yarrow, when administered, this is out of Dr. Christopher's book. I'm on page 235 for those that have gotten the book and following in. This is the 20th edition. And it's probably different page, but in the other books as well. Yarrow, when administered hot and copiously, in other words, a lot of it, will raise the heat of the body, equalize the circulation, and produce perspiration. It opens the pores freely by relaxing the skin, and it purifies the blood of toxins. Yarrow regulates the liver and the secretions of the entire alimentary canal. It tones the mucous membrane of the stomach and bowels. It is healing to the glandular system. Yarrow will never weaken a patient because of its tonic action.
So, if you have a difficult time with the taste of yarrow, what we've done in administering it, because we give between we try and give between 2 to 3 quarts of it in 2 hours between the fever bath and the cold wet sheet wrap, so that the person has a lot of fluid and a lot of yarrow to sweat out the toxins. We're trying to detoxify the vital organs of the system. And if they can't handle the taste of it, we've added peppermint. Because as we've gone over the peppermint here a couple weeks back, or was it last week? I lose track of which.
Yeah, I think it was last week.
Hang on.
I'll look.
Take a look, yeah. Peppermint
Nope,
also.
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Peppermint will help help you sweat out, but it also helps the taste, and it makes it more pleasant to get down.
Here's another herb that you could add to it that would just help it in its the taste, and it would also help you, and that's licorice. We've not talked about licorice root, as it's not on the list of one of these 10 essentials, but licorice, let me tell you what it's good for. And of course, licorice tastes good. I mean, most people have had, and actually the licorice that you buy at the store, that's the licorice candy, that's actually anise that you're flavoring is what's in that. It's not actually licorice root, because the anise flavor is very similar and it's much stronger than is the licorice. And cheaper, yeah. But licorice root, which tastes very similar to that, it helps the lungs, the stomach, the intestines, the spleen, and the liver. Has a general effect on the whole system, stimulates estrogen and cortisone production when needed in the body. Cortisone, doctors give cortisone shots when there's inflammation in the joints. Use licorice root so you don't need that. Take the inflammation out. You see how all the herbs just help so much with these things. It nourishes the adrenals, helps the body to cope with stress and worry. And if anybody says they don't have any stress, the first thing I want to tell them is they're a liar, because we live in a stressful environment nowadays. It's just that's just life right now is stress. And so licorice helps with the adrenals, which of course helps with helping to eliminate that. It also helps in controlling arterial health, or the blood vessels. And so licorice added to yarrow, I don't know that it would completely bury the yarrow flavor. It's still going to stick out because it's got its own flavor, but it's not extremely nasty. It's not like drinking. Pungent. It's not like drinking a cup of chaparral. I don't think it's near as bad.
No, not even.
You agree?
I agree.
So, for those of you that have tried the chaparral tea, the yarrow is nowhere near as bad.
Chewing on railroad ties, getting the chaparral down. She gave us a thumbs up. Very good.
Can I share something, because you're talking about licorice? I don't want to take you off your yarrow path, but Dr. Artis was saying that if you've had problems with blood clots because of any recent things that may have happened to you, that you can take licorice root powder and cinnamon powder and an NAC tablet, and people have dissolved their clots within 5 days.
Awesome.
If you take it daily.
Very good. Thank you. I appreciate these little things that come in because blood clots have become
Almost
a
epidemic.
plague. Epidemic, yeah. People right and left are dropping from. Do you dry both the leaves and the flowers together? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, everything.
Yes.
And
So
the stems.
the pictures that we had here, so we've got this, so the flowers, the stems, we dry all of that. The leaves, we dry that with it. Your most potent on any herb, the strongest thing is the seed when it comes medicinally. On all the plants, the seed is the strongest. The flowers are the next strongest. The leaves follow, well, the roots actually blend in there as well as being quite potent. Probably more so than or right about equal with the flowers. Depending on the plant, maybe a little more than the flowers or a little less. But so we've got that, and then of course the leaves.
They're just really soft little fuzzy things.
And so
and the plant comes out of the ground and just kind of spreads its leaves all over, just kind of like a crown on the ground. And
that's
then
what you're seeing here.
Then it brings up the tall stem, and then you get the flowers and a few leaves up the stems. Yeah, so it's quite an interesting plant. Somebody asked about purple or yellow ones. Those are a hybridized. The white are your wild, which are going to be much more medicinal than a hybridized.
I would be a little leery. I'm trying to zoom in on this and still keep us a good picture, so you could kind of see the full-grown plant.
And these things get knee high. These out west where we lived, they'd get a little more than knee high. The bears would come in our yard and sit down and just start eating the flower heads off of all our yarrow in our backyard because I would go out and away from the house to pick it, so that was the last thing that we'd gather was the stuff nearby because I wanted it really thick on our place. And the bears they'd come in and harvest it for us. Healthy bears, I'm telling you.
So there's also a question here. Does yarrow help with ulcers? I would think it would help, but there's a couple of other things that that you could do with ulcers, and we'll go ahead and jump to that, I think, since the question's there. And that is, number one, for helping with an ulcer. Ulcers are often stress-related, so in other words, see what you can do to help reduce that. But probably the biggest thing you can do health-wise for an ulcer is get on a schedule. Do not put anything in your mouth besides water except at set times. So in other words, when it's time for breakfast, it's 7 a.m. breakfast. You don't eat at 6:45 and you don't eat at 7:10. You eat at 7. And the reason for that is because the body builds up. If you get in a schedule, it takes the average person 3 to 5 days to get their body trained to this. The body will begin making the hydrochloric acid and begin filling the stomach with that. And as that hydrochloric goes in there, it will start approximately 20 minutes before you start to eat. And that's why your meal, by the way, Ellen White tells us that our meal should not vary more than a minute or two.
Not more than 5 minutes.
Or not more than 5 minutes?
More than 5
Not
minutes.
more than 5 minutes.
One way or the other.
So,
But it's better to be early than late.
Yes.
Because by then your hydrochloric acid is falling off.
So as the hydrochloric acid builds, and then as you begin to eat right on time, that goes in. Well, the stomach's now it may be 2/3 full of hydrochloric acid because of your being on schedule. So now what happens is that the stomach begins to stretch, and as it begins to stretch, the wall gets thinner, there's blood vessels in there, the hydrochloric acid literally goes through that stomach wall into the blood vessels, and it begins a whole healing process. It's very antifungal
Fungal and bacterial.
bacterial in the body. But by getting on schedule and having that hydrochloric there, ready to do its work in the digestion process of the food, you'll find the ulcers will go away, unless there's one exemption, and that is I was trying to remember the name of it. H. pylori. Thank you.
H. pylori.
And that
is a worm.
It's a parasite that causes ulcer-like
Stomach
symptoms. And in that case, nothing even being on regular, that'll help, but it won't solve it if it's H. pylori.
Until you kill the parasite.
You've got to get rid of the parasite, and they're a tough little guy to kill. Talk to us later. There's a parasite cleanse that we have found that does work and works well for all of that.
So the ulcers.
And we don't want to make that an advertisement today.
What gets rid of ulcers is, like he said, the scheduling. If you fall like I did when I was a youth for the doctor's pill that kills your hydrochloric acid to help your stomach ulcers, that does not work.
Rolaids, Tums.
You're actually setting yourself up for cancer, which I did because I didn't understand that H. pylori was what was causing my bleeding ulcers. But one of the things that says here in this 10 Essentials book for ulcers specifically is the cayenne. Start with a 1/4 teaspoon or less of cayenne, with a view of building toward 1/2 teaspoon to 1 teaspoonful. Mix the desired amount of cayenne in a little juice. I would suggest tomato juice. It works the best.
Tomato juice, seawater with cayenne. It's a lovely drink.
And take this 2 to 4 times a day, preferably with nothing in your stomach between meals. It says I would take it just before a meal, because we don't like to take it in between meals, but up to 15 minutes before the meal, it says. On rare occasions, with bad cases of bleeding ulcers, you might have to use more than an entire tablespoon of cayenne. That helps get rid of ulcers, but also you need to get on black walnut, wormwood, and cloves to kill the H. pylori. Or was it, do those 3 kill it, or was there something else that was?
There's another one.
What's that? Those 3?
Yeah.
Yes.
Those 3 are the main herbs, but that seemed like there was another herb that was more specific for the H. pylori.
I think it's tansy.
We
added tansy,
I think it's tansy.
believe, for the H. pylori.
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen this plant all over the place here in the Northwest and had no idea what it was used to tear up this, quote, weed and dispose of it. You remind me of our second child. After I got well from cancer, I was learning about all these herbs that Mark had studied while I was sick. And so we go to weed the garden, and we had planted carrots, and the weeds were coming up. And so we're pulling weeds, and I had my 2 children there, and our 3-year-old, he said, "Mommy, what's this?" And I said, "That's plantain." "Is it a weed?" "Yeah." "Well, it's actually a medicinal weed." "What's it good for?" So I tell him, and we got to pull it out. So we pull it out. Next one, "What's this?" "Dandelion." "That's really good for a sick liver, and so we'd go on about that one, and he'd pull it out. Go to the next one. "What's this?" "That's yarrow. That's good for," and we did this like for 6 or 8 different herbs, and finally he stands up, puts his hands on his little hips, and says, "Mommy, why don't we just pull out the carrots and keep the weeds?" I thought that was perfect advice. There were less carrots than there were weeds, for starters.
Yes.
Anyway, never forgotten that. So, yes, I would say go yarrow hunting and harvest your own, and this'll be a priceless treasure to have in your little pharmacy,
collection.
Your little collection of FARM pharmacy. So.
Yarrow in Back to Eden, he had some interesting points here that I wanted to make. And there's so many different versions. I'm not worrying about which edition this is or page number here. It says the writer has used yarrow very extensively as it grows very abundantly in the northern part of Wisconsin where he was born. It's a fine remedy for all kinds of fevers taken hot. So interestingly enough, we use yarrow to help create a fever, and yet it's also a remedy for fevers. It helps if the fever's getting too high, you can use it to help regulate that and get it down. It's most effective remedy for suppressed urine or scanty urine. So if things aren't coming through like they should, you can use yarrow, and of course you could use it in conjunction with corn silk, which helps with all of that, with uva ursi. Those herbs help as well with that. And here's the thing. So maybe you've got yarrow and you don't have, and corn silk, but you don't have any uva ursi. Fine, use the yarrow and the corn silk, or just use the yarrow if you have that. So some of the other things.
Do you recommend that we drink 2 to 3 quarts of it like you do?
Okay. So here's the thing.
That's for a crisis situation, girlfriend.
2 to 3 quarts would be a crisis one for somebody that we're doing fever treatments with. We do that.
I really need them to sweat out some toxins.
For the cold, wet sheet wrap. What we read in the 10 Essentials book is 1 cup, a coffee mug cup of yarrow tea before you go to bed. Yeah, there you go. Like that. 1 cup of yarrow.
Yeah. By the way, we have different sizes of cups. Our small ones, we found out, are 8 ounces. The larger ones, no matter how huge the cup, most of them only held 14 ounces.
They're different
we have
shapes,
a really
but they all hold about,
cup,
we were
and
measuring.
It still holds only 14 ounces like the slender, taller one.
And so
it's about
here
14
again,
ounces is fine.
How to make a tea. First of all, we'll just talk about, let's say we're going to use our dried herb here to make a tea. So what we want to do with this dried herb is we want to put water, distilled water, reverse osmosis water would be best. Would I hesitate to use city water that's chlorinated, fluorinated? If I had an emergency and I needed to do it, yeah, I'd use it. I'd be working towards getting something.
Where you are.
Yes, something's better than nothing. Yes, I'd be working towards going and getting something.
We had spring water though. We had spring water. Yeah.
So spring water would be acceptable. He gave me water
out of the tap, not distilled water, when I was sick.
But
we lived in the country.
So my point is, something's better than nothing. But it's still better because reverse osmosis and or distilled is a hungry water. It's going to absorb it better. But how you can compensate for that is let it steep a little bit longer. Give it a little more time. If you're using spring water, give it a little more time to pull that and that nutrients. So boil your water, turn off the heat, add your herb, put the lid on, especially with yarrow and like chaparral, same way. Put the lid on and let it cool until drinkable, like with the yarrow. And the reason for that is because if you don't cover it and put a lid on it.
She said how much herb?
How much herb? Well, it depends on how much you're making and how much we get. If we're getting low on herb, we get stingy on how much we put in the pot. If we've got a lot of it available,
usually just a spoonful.
The amount that Melanie had pulled out of the jar. If we were making a couple cups of tea for us,
I try and get some leaves and flowers as
do.
well. But I'll put about that much.
So here, let me hit the top camera.
In enough.
So pull to the side of the jars so that there's a better background there. Now they can see your hand better.
Yeah.
So
just a handful. These are stems, and you wouldn't think they had much medicinal, but I tell you what, they can put a punch to you. And then I usually find some of the fluffy stuff that's falling to the bottom, as you can see, because it breaks off. It's real dry and brittle. So just get a little of that, put it together.
Put it in there and let us see. Yeah. Now, if we were going to be making 3 quarts of tea to use, we're probably going to use 3 times that much.
Yes.
4 times that much as we make it, because you need more. But here's the awesome thing about herbs. And the reason we don't talk about, you need exactly 0.2 of an ounce to make 1 cup of tea. You don't do that because it's an herb. You could use a whole bunch. You could use a little. How strong do you want it? How strong do you need it? It's not really something that you have to be super careful to, literally, I could use a 5 handfuls like Melanie had and make a tea out of it for us to drink. And yeah, I might be wasting the herb by doing that, but it's not going to hurt me. It's not going to hurt us. We could drink it and do just fine with it.
We have a question here. Tell me
Yes.
the licorice and what rise for blood clots.
Number 1 for blood clots is
You just
cayenne.
read it. Licorice. Licorice
Oh,
was for blood clots, but also I'd like them to see this, if you can turn this on.
okay. So,
For blood clots.
what did I just read for blood clots? So licorice is a blood cleanser.
Maybe it was the yarrow to thin the blood.
I think it's the yarrow.
To cleanse the blood.
I do believe it's the yarrow tea with the get to talking on all those things.
Dr. Artist said cinnamon powder, licorice root powder, and an NAC tablet, N-acetylcysteine tablet, taken every day for 5 days. Most of his patients' blood clots were resolved.
What's NAC?
N-acetylcysteine.
Never heard of it.
N-acetylcysteine?
N-acetylcysteine.
Oh, we'll have to look that up.
Yeah.
Blood.
That's the one thing about
Blood
this.
clots,
I have to say,
We've had. I wonder if it's off of cayenne, because we've had several people, older people, who have had heart trouble, blood clots in the heart, and
before I got to the heart,
we've told them, yeah. Well, and with
one
Vaughn that
yeah,
had
one
the heart
did,
attack,
yeah.
and they, the best thing is that teaspoon of cayenne in really warm water, and take it, and it'll open the vessels, and
you might have to continue.
Yeah,
for a
we
while.
did with Vaughn. We did it for like 5 hours. I was on the phone with her saying, "Okay, drink the next cup, because we're 6 hours apart." So it stopped the heart attack on her. NAC, she calls it. So Richard, did you say?
So one of the things that I do when I feel like, because I had a bunch of blood clots and I had to deal with them, was niacin and vitamin E. Vitamin E to thin the blood so it would move easily, and then niacin to open up the blood vessels, and then I would get so much relief from it.
Awesome. Okay.
Molly?
Yes,
Yes.
Terry.
NAC. NAC is an over-the-counter high vitamin C vitamin. I took that all during COVID and never had any problems whatsoever.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay, so it's a vitamin C. Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you, Terry. I appreciate
Appreciate
that.
it.
Then it's N-acetylcysteine.
Okay.
Okay.
NAC. Awesome. So, Richard, can you expound here? Did you say, I cannot read this, perchloride? Perchloride at the 4th? As the 4th.
Yeah, you said perchlorate I thought was one of your 4 anti-parasite or parasite cleanse items. Was that not?
No. The parasite cleanse is the
Black walnut, clove, and wormwood. But you said something else.
tansy ragweed or tansy weed.
I didn't hear
Tansy.
pansy.
Yeah, tansy.
There's a long list of parasitic herbs.
There are.
For
Brendan,
Sure.
could you go get me a bottle of the parasite herbs? So
Tansy.
read it and your
Yeah.
fiberol, and we'll just read it off to them. Okay, back to while he's getting that. Back to Mark, if you can bring this up.
I'm headed there.
One of the things you can do for blood clots is bone, flesh, and cartilage. BF and C. Dr. Christopher talks about this formula, and I'm putting it up on the screen here. Mark, you want to read that for them, please?
Sure.
Thank you. Whoops.
So he uses 6 parts oak bark, 3 parts marshmallow root, 3 parts mullein herb.
By the way, mullein and lobelia together are a lung cleanser second to none.
2 parts wormwood, 1 part
parasite kill.
lobelia, 1 part skullcap, 6 parts comfrey root, with 3 parts black walnut leaves, and 3 parts gravel root. By the way, several of those are parasite cleansing herbs. Move it down so we can see the page number there. So in the 20th edition, this is page 592. This is why we like this edition, because all these recipes are, this is formula number 28 of his.
Right.
Bone, Flesh, and Cartridge, or BFNC. And he gives the instructions. Yes, go ahead.
How much is a part?
Okay.
When it says part, so if you used, let's say, cup, if we used a cup, that would be 6 cups of oak bark, 3 cups of marshmallow. But if we use tablespoons, it would be 6 tablespoons of oak bark, 3 tablespoons of marshmallow, and 3 tablespoons of mullein herb. It's so just equivalence, whether you used a cup, whether you used a tablespoon, whether you used a gallon. You could say 6 gallons of oak bark and 3 gallons of marshmallow if you really wanted a huge amount.
And that's what we do here, because we get herbs by the pound and put them together to share with other people. And so I'll put a gallon of like heart herb together, a finished product together. So I start out with 1 pound of this and 1 pound of that and 3 pounds of the first thing, So that's how we put together herbs. But for you and your wife, you would want to get the different herbs and then just put a small amount together, I'm sure, so that you had then those single herbs, some of those left to combine or take just
with other things.
For other things. So, okay, so that's his bone, flesh, and cartilage, and that helps get rid of clots. And I started taking this on a maintenance dose here, January. It was.
Yep.
Just because, I'm getting older and I don't want thin skin, and it's looking like it's going there. And so I thought bone, flesh, and cartilage, I'm just going to feed all of those with this formula, and it works. It works well. So here again, we have, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this. Here's the list of parasite herbs in the...
I think we'd be better to just...
read them off. Can you see it, or is it just too shiny?
It's just glaring.
Okay. Let's not.
Melanie, I have a question.
Okay, Karen.
This is Karen.
Hi.
All these herbs that you were talking about, do you know of a company we can order them from? Because I don't have a lot of those that you mentioned.
So one of our favorite places, and it's getting harder with getting these, one of our favorites has been Pacific Botanicals. They have very good product. They don't always have it available, but they have very good product. They've just gotten real popular. There's some herbs lately we've not been able
Pacific Botanicals?
Yes, Pacific,
and
like the Pacific Ocean. They're in Grants Pass, Oregon.
And then you go .com?
Okay.
I think they have a website.
Yes, they do.
So
Okay.
I probably
Yeah.
shouldn't go there today.
with the paraway with the parasite
cleanse that we've found that works well.
we used to get these herbs and put them together in bulk, and then we would cap them and send them to people. But my life has gotten to, I guess the older you get, the faster you ride, right? So I'm galloping through life here, and I don't have time to cap hundreds and hundreds of pills for people. So we've gone to using the company that we used that was back when we got
Right after you
after I had cancer.
right
right?
after you got
Okay.
had
So
cancer, we started
we've been with
using
them
it.
a long time, and we do get these for other people. Black walnut hull. These are the list of herbs. Black
Just run
walnut
through it
hull,
quickly, 'cause-
pumpkin seed, knotweed extract, clove flower bud, garlic bulb, sage leaf, gentian root, hyssop leaf, fenugreek seed, chamomile flower, black pepper fruit, peppermint leaf, thyme leaf, fennel seed, and sodium copper chlorophyll. Out of the they've taken the copper out of the chlorophyll plant.
And then part of it is another product with it is psyllium husk.
I can't write that fast. Could you go over it again? I'm sorry.
Probably just be better to
Let
get
me
the
take
list.
a picture of it
Take
for
a picture and send it later. Because there's another list that's twice that long in this other product that we use that it's got licorice and alfalfa and black walnut and buchu and burdock and cape aloe and cayenne and chickweed and cinnamon and clove and corn silk, which isn't necessarily a parasite killer, but it helps to keep the kidneys working so that you can get rid of all of this stuff. Dandelion, echinacea, fenugreek, garlic, ginger, marshmallow, papaya, peppermint, pumpkin, red raspberry, rhubarb root, slippery elm bark, and yucca root. So long list is the point. There's a lot of herbs that do it, and the reason for the large variety of the herbs is because some herbs will kill a certain type of parasite and they won't kill another type of parasite. And so by taking a lot of different of the different parasites, the different herbs. Yeah, parasite killing herbs, by taking and putting them in a mix together, you're able to catch but the key important thing that you could do, and this is where most parasite cleanses fail on this account, and that is they'll say, oh, ours is only a 3-day cleanse. It may be the most powerful cleanse that's on the market. The problem is you don't kill the eggs and you only kill the adult hatched ones. So you get an awesome kill off, you start to feel a little bit better, and 2 weeks later you're like, oh, right back to the same way you were, because the other group hatched out. The longest life cycle that I'm aware of anyway
of an egg developing.
The egg developing is 28 days.
I think it's liver flukes that take 28 days to hatch.
And so if you don't do a parasite cleanse that's minimally 28 days long, and that's the minimum, I would think that it needs to be 30 or a few more days to be able to get everybody. So in other words, you want to kill them before they can replicate so that you don't end up reinfecting yourself. So you continue to do this for a longer period of time so that you're getting cleansed out with it. So we've said for a long time, any parasite cleanse that's less than essentially a 30-day cleanse, think twice about it. It may get them, if you use it, you might just have to get a lot of them and continue taking it. Make sure it's not something that's toxic if you take it for an extended period of time. If it's herbal, it's not toxic. You can take an extended period, but some of them out there are extracts of different herbs, the things that are in the herbs. And when you take an extract of them, you're essentially, you've gone to the level of pharmaceuticals. And then it could be a problem if you take it for an extended period of time. So make sure you look to see what you're doing and don't hurt yourself doing. Because, and I'm going to share this here with this. We were reminded of this last night. So one of the herbs that Melanie mentioned that's in here is garlic bulb. So I want to share with everybody something that I did, and I'm going to preface this. You're going to hear me say this over and over again. Do not do this. Okay? Don't do it. Don't even think about trying it. It's not worth it. It's too extreme. But I'm going to share it anyway because I want to share what happens when, and you'll see it's kind of funny as the way I share this, but at the same time, don't do it. There's other things that can be done, and it can be done in a much lesser way that's not nearly so crazy. So I was listening to a cassette tape of a doctor. She had, can't even think of her name now. Charlotte Holmes was her name. She graduated from a school of medicine many, many years ago, back before Loma Linda became Loma Linda. And so she had just graduated as a doctor. Her husband's brother, this was during the Depression, her husband's brother decided to buy some horses because they were really, really cheap. And he knew they had some, the vet had said they had this disease, but he thought, well, I can probably fix that. And so he buys the horses, and promptly one of them these horses are a bag of bones. And he thought, well, if I get them good feed and stuff, I've got a good fields. I'll get them on good feed and I'll get them fattened up. They'll be okay. And so, sorry, I was glancing at the chat there. So anyway, he gets these horses. Well, he starts putting them on really good feed, and one of them just tips over and dies. So he's talking with his, and money things were hard to come by, and so he spent, money hoping to be able to, this would be a good investment. And now he's getting worried that maybe he didn't do so good. So he says to his brother, your wife just graduated. Well, first of all, he called the vet, and the vet comes out, and the vet says, yeah, they've got blah, 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 and runs off this big wrong word that he didn't know what it meant, and neither did any of them, and they're going to die. Nothing you can do about it. And the guy's like, great, I just wasted all my money. So he says, your wife, he's talking to his brother, and he says, your wife just graduated from medical school. Maybe she's got an idea. Why don't you ask her? So her husband says, Charlotte's husband says, my brother just got these horses, and, they're really skinny, and they're going to die. And she's like, I don't know anything about horses. I'm not a veterinarian. I didn't train on anything like that. I don't know what to do. So, long story short, he tells her, repeats this name, and I can't remember it. It's been too many years ago since I heard what this word was. It really doesn't matter. And she says, she's like, parasites. She says, well, that's a parasite. And she thinks about it for a little bit, and she says, well, garlic, I learned in school that garlic kills parasites.
You need garlic juice for them.
So you need to make some garlic juice for them. So
that was the Depression.
During the Depression. So he goes and he buys a bushel basket of garlic. That was a lot of garlic. And out here they deal in bushels. Do you have one of your little baskets around? That's a half bushel.
They're up top.
Can you get it?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll have Melanie, so you can get an idea of how much. We've got some half bushel baskets because they work with bushels out here yet. So anyway, he gets a bushel of garlic. And he didn't have a Champion Juicer or a Breville or any of these others. Okay, there is a half a bushel of garlic. You can kind of see the size of this thing. He had had 2 of these full.
Of garlic.
And so he begins by hand juicing garlic. And they'd kind of decided that he should, how are we going to do this? Well, why don't we put it in a Coke bottle? So he gets a Coke bottle and they juice garlic and they fill a Coke bottle. And he says, well, I guess I'll go to the sickest one first. So of course, horses don't take things down real well unless they're on their feet. So they manage to get the horse on its feet.
That took them a while.
By the way, if anybody's eating, you're going to want to stop, put the food aside. This gets really ugly. And I got to be quick. So anyway, he juices it. You get the horse up. They stick the bottle in the horse's mouth. They pour it down. The horse shimmies and shakes. Now, horses don't throw up. But this horse opened its mouth, and a ball of worms came out of his mouth. He or she, whatever it was, lifted its tail, and worms were extracted out the other end at the same time. Just both ends evacuating.
It only took like 4 minutes, and they started evacuating out both ends of that horse.
So the story goes on. He gives the horse another dose the next day, and it's doing a lot better. And he goes to give it a dose the third day, and he can't get near the horse. He gets that bottle out, and the horse is gone. Took off and away from him. Couldn't catch it.
The rest of the herd
were going down. So he started giving garlic to all of the horses. I don't know how many more bushels of garlic that he got, but obviously it was probably quite a bit. So leave it to Mark. I get this brilliant idea. Okay, so so if a healthy horse weighs 1,400 pounds, a sick horse probably weighs 900 to 1,000 pounds, something like that. So a Coke bottle would be 12 ounces, and I got the calculator out, and I started doing some mathematics, and I came up with 2 ounces. Now, remember, I said don't do this. Don't even think about doing this. If you're stupid enough like me to do this,
You're not responsible?
Yeah, I'm not responsible, yes. So, I took this one Sunday morning. I said to Melanie, I got to try this.
So we juiced it through the Champion Juicer. I peeled them and juiced a bunch of garlic through there and got him his 2 ounces. And then our 6-year-old said, Dad, I want to do it with ya. So I calculated some more weights, and I said, well, that'd be about half an ounce. Almost half an ounce. So we gave them their little cups of
So juice. Here I sit with 2 ounces, and we're sitting at the breakfast table. Mama's just about got some waffles. Breakfast ready, yeah. For us, and everything's there. And I said, okay, so we're on empty stomachs. Mm-hmm. And I said, you ready? And he's like, yeah, I'm ready. Here we go. And we shot it down. Well, immediately
turned bright red.
Fire.
Started sweating.
And I'm jumping out of my chair in a full-out sweat, and I'm running for the bathroom. I'm holding my throat, and I get to the bathroom, and he's right on my mic, or he's right on my tail, and we get in there, and we're throwing up, and
all they'd had was water so far, but it was coming up.
It was coming up. I thought I was going to throw up my intestines. I was throwing up so violently. Anyway,
they started hollering for milk, and all I could think of was cow's milk. And I said, milk? We haven't had milk in this house for years. And our daughter said, Mom. And she took the pitcher of soy milk off the table and ran in there, and they both start trying to tip
We're
it
both
up,
trying to drink it at the same time, so we're pouring it between us. we're still throwing up. We're pouring it. We're throwing up. We're back and forth and grabbing it from
Filling
each
their
other,
britches.
and we both filled our pants. Right there in front of the toilet. I mean, the bathroom became a disaster area.
And then they didn't feel like eating breakfast for some
No,
reason.
breakfast was out.
So we decided there's easier and quicker ways to lose
So
parasites.
garlic works. Large amounts. You got to realize, I took probably 15 bulbs of garlic, not
Yeah,
cloves,
to juice them.
bulbs
Yeah.
of garlic in one shot. It is a good parasite cleanser,
Very good.
but I would think that
Wouldn't
more
recommend it.
appropriate would be 2 or 3 cloves of garlic in juiced
Carrot
in
juice.
some carrot juice or something with something else. Not
Buffer
15
it with
bulbs.
almond milk or something.
Yeah, and don't do it on an empty stomach. Anyway, I share that just because as we've learned through this experience, not everything has always been pleasant. We did survive. I couldn't eat garlic for almost a year. Just the smell of garlic made me nauseated. And I like garlic still, and still eat it.
It took him a while to get it
But
back in the menu.
it took a
though.
good year or more before we got past that. What I'm saying, and the reason I share this is we've got to use common sense with what we do. And if I have just thought about it a little bit, I've never been able to eat more than a couple cloves of garlic at a time and without my mouth just burning. If I had just stopped and thought logically for a few minutes, it would have... I'd have never ever thought to attempt something so crazy. I'm just thankful we lived through it.
Yeah.
And poor mommy spent several hours cleaning up the mess that we made. And anyway, yeah, we need to use common sense. We need to, as we use the herbs, as we do these treatments and things, that's why we talk about, that's why I literally have
Did it work?
3.
So many
Did the
books.
cleanse work?
Yes, it did.
Yes, it did. Oh, yes, we lost
Yes.
parasites with it. We did lose parasites.
And our little, our 6-year-old, it really helped him because he'd had a really hard time with childhood disease shots when he was younger, and it
But
kind of
when
got him
we-
over a
when
hump of
we
always
did,
being sick. So he lost a lot of parasites.
Yes.
But when we went
But-
on the cleanse, you just saw the bottles of. He also
Lost parasites.
lost a lot of parasites.
And here
that was
again-
about the same time.
One-time cleanse is not good enough. It takes, because the other guys are going to hatch out and you're just going to be back infested again.
So do it at least 30 days for what you do. The parasite cleanse is it's the unicity cleanse. We can help you get that if you
Share.
think you need one.
We can, yeah.
But seriously, in all
my-
seriousness, you need to deworm yourself, just like we deworm cats and dogs if
Yes.
we want them to be healthy.
So
Yes. Oh,
Tracy's showing the book. So and my
Awesome.
point is, I have read to you from multiple books about Yarrow today. And the reason for that is because, and this one as well. So, I mean, we've got 5, let's see here. There's 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's 5 books here on herbs, different books that we have shared information from. All the information adds up to being essentially the same. We're looking for that common denominator so that we could see what to do, how to do it.
By the way, in this book I couldn't find yarrow, and so I looked it up in its Latin name and found it under milfoil. milfoil. That's one of the other names for yarrow. So if you're looking in a book and you can't find yarrow, look under milfoil.
That goes with any
Because
herb. That's how we identified, to be sure, when we were going out into the woods to identify herbs. When we first went out and we saw this, we didn't want to be taking something from the wild that we weren't sure. Are there look-alike plants? Are there plants that are, there's some that there's lookalikes and they're poisonous. So don't just go, oh yeah, I can, and go do. There's mushrooms. There's mushrooms that look almost identical. And one is deadly poison and will kill you, and the other one can be used as a medicinal. And so you need to look and learn what you're doing before you just go diving head first and being goofy about it. But the key thing and the way we did it is we would look up, like with Yarrow. I can't say it. Put it over there on the projector, and I'll just put it up that way that they can see it.
What, the Latin name?
Yes, for the Latin name of Yarrow.
It's Achillea millefolium.
So there's the there you go.
Okay.
There's the Latin name right there below Yarrow. So we would have a book that would be pictures of different plants, and it also would have the because this millefolium is, or millefolium would be a name that another book might use it or call it. And so, but the Latin name is going to be always the same. And so we use...
Show them this.
We use the... there's nothing, no cover there.
Oh, I'm sorry. We got a hold of a book, Wildflowers and Weeds. It's
there you go.
It's like this.
You're upside down,
upside
but
down.
anyway.
Okay. Like that.
There you
it
go.
It doesn't have anything on the front except a flower. But we got a hold of this one, Wildflower and Weeds, and I went through and looked up all the Latin names and then started marking in yellow everything that was wild under the Latin name that would be medicinal for us and in our area. And this was one of the books we used for years to identify what was at our feet. And it was very, very helpful then.
And we knew that we had a match because of looking, here's the picture, here's the Latin name, and then we'd go, how we found the medicinal use is then we would go to usually our little pocket herb book, this one that was in our pocket, and which had a lot of them, or that one, and we would go and we'd look it up when we get home. We'd say, okay, so Yarrow, that was definitely Yarrow that we found. There's no doubt about it. It's so easy to identify. The leaves are a dead giveaway for that. That just made it so easy to tell what it was. And then we'd go back and we'd say, okay, so Yarrow is good for, and we'd start trying to learn what it was good for. And we did that before we started taste testing of all of these different things, because there's actually not many things out there that are poisonous, but there are a few. And if you get a hold of one of those, you're going to wish that you hadn't done it. Mushrooms are the biggest culprits. There's a lot of poisonous mushrooms out there. And there's several that look like good ones, so you got to really be careful on that subject. Herbs are way more easy to identify, not so easily mistaken. And don't forget about the inner bark.
Hang on a second.
Milkfoil, I think, Richard, that was what it was.
Millefolium. I put it in the chat.
Milfoil.
Milfoil.
Okay,
It's a
Christopher's
short
book says milfoil.
Okay,
Milfoil.
That's one of its names, but its Latin name is millefolium. So milfoil for short.
So Yarrow or milfoil.
Now somebody asked, what is the author of the herb book? You mean the Wildflower and Weeds that we use for identification?
Which herb book? We've got like 6 or 7 out
That's
here.
why I'm asking.
One that Molly's got under her arm. It's titled The Herb Book.
The herb book. Oh, the herb book. That's John Lust.
Throw it up there on the scanner.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's John Lust's book.
Pull it down a little bit. There you go.
Excuse me. I'm sorry.
Oh, but she can't see it anyway. Everybody else can, though.
Okay.
Or no, I guess she can. She's on my computer. So, yeah, the herb book, John lust. And I'll just tell you, with all of these books, there's things in these books that over time, because of our working with it for so long, there's things in these books where it's like, I can't agree to that. That does not add up.
Well,
That's
no.
not God's plan.
On these, I've tossed out most of the herb books that had
We have,
off-the-wall
but
stuff.
there's 10 Essential. I've read
Well,
some
that's
things
true.
in here that I don't agree with.
Okay, this Wildflower and Weeds book was put together by Booth Courtney and James Hall Zimmerman, and it's from the Van Nostrand Reinhold Company. So I don't know if you could find it in
I don't know if you'd find one
Sorry
of those.
about all the writing in it. That's a mess.
There you go. The publisher down there at the
Yeah.
bottom. So we want our point is we want everybody to try to
Educate yourself.
don't be
Educate
like
yourself.
Mark and
Do
drink
foolish
2
things.
ounces of garlic juice. Be sensible about it and work towards just adding to your learning. And of course, you've got a benefit that you can ask. There's others of us that have been walking this way and learning some of these things, and we've got better resources now than we had when we started learning. And so, we can. It's not. You don't have to do it just trial and error, and because sometimes those errors can be real challenging. Anyway, I took up a lot of time sharing my stupidity, but hopefully it is actually helpful for everyone. And we are pretty much out of time again. So we will be continuing with the same plan next week with more studies and more things on herbs. I don't know. We'll probably talk about a herb next week, but I don't know which one it'll be. We'll figure it out this week. What we think would be helpful for all of you.
Question.
Yes, sir.
The 2 ounces of garlic water or garlic juice may be mixed with a teaspoon of olive oil, some grapefruit juice, tomato juice, a little pepper and cayenne, and just down it. I mean, and not and some crackers. Have some.
I would
crackers.
I would still say no. It's too much.
Well, back off on the
Maybe
garlic
if you
and
took. Maybe if, yes, you've got a good combination, but instead of 2 ounces of garlic, make it 2 ounces of tomato and a couple of cloves of garlic.
4 ounces of tomato
or 4
juice.
ounces of tomato juice with
Right.
a couple of cloves of garlic juice.
You could double your tomato juice and 2
Yeah.
ounces of.
Yeah.
Well, now you said how many clove heads did you juice?
He did.
You said
I
He
did
about 14 or 15
14 or
bulbs, if I
15
recall.
bulbs of garlic.
it's a wonder you didn't die.
Yes. Yes, exactly. Very much so. Very much so. Yeah, it is a wonder that I didn't die. It's only the mercy of the Lord, really. But yes,
Man,
what you just shared,
I ate
Richard,
one
would
clove.
be really good, but I would...
Richard, outside of being really nauseous every time I used garlic after that for about a year, he actually had better health than he'd had in
Yeah.
a long time.
Well, I ate one little clove of garlic one day. I just chewed it up and swallowed it on an empty stomach, and man, I had to run and get something in my stomach. It was.
Yes.
It will not stay
Powerhouse.
down on an empty stomach. It'll burn you up.
Yes,
Yeah.
it will. Yes,
One-
it will. I
one
do
of the-
know.
One of the things I learned in one of the schools of the prophets I went to, my home head there, when flu season came around and some of the kids at school started getting sick, he'd say, "Time to break out the garlic." But he would put it on a piece of bread with homemade mayonnaise and just slice them thin and just cover it and then put a piece of
Yeah,
bread
and
on
we're
top.
talking maybe 2
And
cloves.
so just
2 cloves or 3 cloves of garlic,
And
not
that was-
bulbs.
That was his daily take, and it did keep us well in that home when we did that. I never got sick the winters I lived in their home.
And garlic
So-
is awesome. I'm not saying don't use garlic. No, actually use garlic.
don't
Use
be
it. We've talked
foolish.
about garlic already. Garlic is wonderful. It's powerful. It
Antifungal and antibacterial and antiviral.
viral.
Parasitic.
Yes, the parasitic. So it
It's broad spectrum.
works well. It really does a good job at what it does. But too much of a good thing is not good. Especially all in one dose.
Be temperate in all things.
Yes, that's one of. Isn't that one of your deals over there?
Temperance, yes.
That's part of being circumspect, walking
Yes.
circumspect.
It most definitely is.
Yes. So if you look at the chart there, if you look down on the left, the right side of the chart, but you see number 1, pure air, sunlight, temperance.
Rest.
There's where I failed. I broke that law of temperance. And then we have rest and herbs and exercise and proper diet and the use of water and trust in divine power and a clear conscience.
And I just wanted to say, for those who are struggling with their health, adding herbs is not going to help if you don't follow these other 9 laws of health.
Correct.
I've spoken to one person in the last week. I think it was this week, or was that last week? Anyway, within the last short amount of time, who admitted to me after a while on the phone with them that they're still eating late at night, going to bed on a full stomach, not sleeping well, going to bed late, and not taking a daily shower. So the pores are clogged. The melatonin is not being made because they stay up very late, and then they go
Not
to bed on
getting
a full
exercise.
stomach. And there's no way you can get good rest when you've got food in your system. The stomach needs rest, just like the eyeballs, and just like the brain. So if you're not following all 10 of these, herbs aren't going to help you that much. It's just not.
They might do a little
gonna
bit, but
happen.
it takes all of those
Yes, it
working
does.
together if you're going to truly have good health.
Right.
You can't skip any on the list. So
So there they are. So let's remember them and thank the Lord for these temples that He gave us. What would you do? What do you find the best inspired advice detail in the spirit of prophecy for a new pioneer Adventist? The best
what
inspired
subject?
advice. I think in short it would be Micah 6:8.
oh, on eating.
Oh, on eating. Okay, and
Oh, on
and
the
resting.
on all of the okay. So
On eating, she advises 2 meals a day, just like you find in the scriptures, and very simple meals. If you go through and read
Christian temperance.
what they had for meals in the Bible times, there's only ever 2 or 3 items mentioned, maybe 4, with the people of God. Christian temperance, Bible hygiene.
temperance, Bible hygiene would
will
be my
give you-
first choice.
Yeah.
Second choice would be the 30 testimony pamphlets.
They have a lot of advice.
There's a
in there
lot
for
of
those.
really good advice. It's a lot of reading. It's not a quick fast track. But there's a lot of really good counsel in there that covers all 10 of those.
And mental rest is just as important as physical rest. I got in the habit for a while after the phones came out. I would put the phone near my bed and put the earbuds in, and I would listen to Bible in the night time. And I would wake up so exhausted. It was good instruction going on. It was just Alexander Scorby reading the Bible, and I'd make it from Genesis to the middle of Chronicles in the night, But my brain was trying to process all that, and that's not the time. You cannot
needs
do that
rest.
to yourself, because once the melatonin stops working at midnight, Then the filing cabinet starts filing away everything you touched and tasted and saw and heard and what else? Eyes,
All five.
ears, yeah, all five senses.
All five senses: taste,
Touching, taste, sight, hearing, and smell. That's the one I was missing. So if it can't file away that stuff because you're trying to shove more stuff in there, your brain is going to become exhausted. So we need to keep all those things.
Comments?
Sorry.
That's also the reason for balancing physical activity with mental activity.
Correct.
Yes.
If your work is something that's mentally focused, do something in your spare time that's physically active, or vice versa. If your work is physically active, do something that's mentally active as a refresh or release from your actions. Your
Yes.
busyness.
Like my father-in-law, when he retired and they moved to a town, a house kind of on the outskirts of town, and they had a little corner lot. He found himself just sitting and not doing enough. And so he went and tilled up part of the back lawn and planted a little garden and grew the best raspberries and you name it. They had
Strawberries and
groceries
tomatoes
for
and-
30 years out of that backyard. And it kept him busy, occupied with his hands in the sunshine, etc. So, yeah.
Okay. We are out of time again. I want to praise the Lord that He's given us good healing methods. Let's kneel and seek the Lord in prayer. Melanie, I want you to close for us again today.
Our most heavenly Father, praises be to your holy name, for you have told us in your word, you give us the herbs for the service of man, and these herbs will work to set right this machinery that is so filled with toxins. And we also thank you for the 10 laws of health, the other 9 laws, along with the herbs, that regulate our living and give us the vitality we need. Most of all, Lord, we need your Spirit to prompt us to right action, to whisper in our ear, this is the way, walk ye in it. Help us, Lord, not to give in to impulse or desire, but to follow you until we find ourselves in that home that you have prepared for us, for those who will love you enough to obey all of your laws. We ask for strength and courage and fortitude to make it to that point. And may we, each one here on this call, be able to meet at that great white throne and bow before our Creator and our Maker and bless you together throughout eternity. This is our goal. This is our plea. In Jesus' name, amen.